Fortnite made a crazy comeback, and no, it's not just because of OG Fortnite. For several years, this game has been on a steady decline, reaching its lowest interest just right before it peaked to the highest player count it's ever been in. But Fortnite's actually been setting itself up for success for about a year before OG Fortnite came out, so my goal for this video is to explain how Fortnite went from a game with a trash reputation to a game that everyone seems to praise now. So starting at the very beginning, Fortnite took off almost immediately after the Battle Royale mode launched back in September of 2017. In my opinion, I think that the reason it got so popular was because of how innovative it was. It wasn't even an original idea though. Before that, you had the Battle Royale styled games like H1Z1, PUBG, and even Minecraft survival games, which was low-key the GOAT, but I'm gonna talk about that in another video. But anyways, the reason Fortnite was so innovative was because it took the addictive and unique idea of these games, and it just turned it into something that was a simple, easy to understand experience that almost anyone could enjoy, which is why I think it went so crazy in the first place. That was just the beginning though. Big Fortnite YouTubers at the time like Myth, Tfue, Daquan, and of course Ninja were keeping the game alive and relevant on the internet. Everything changed though when Ninja somehow managed to get the biggest rapper of the modern age, Drake, to play Fortnite with him on a live stream. Now this is actually insane, and this was probably the start of the having rappers on stream trend that we see today. Obviously this broke the internet and broke the Twitch live streaming record while having over 600,000 people in the stream, and of course this brought a new wave of popularity to the game. It wasn't just the community keeping the game alive, however. The developers were really tapped in with this player base too. Consistent and quality updates were probably the #1 thing that I'd say kept the game alive and fun. I remember back when the first big map update came out and half of the lobby would drop at Tilted Towers, and that shit was actually insane. Lots of content would be added to keep the game fresh, but the simplicity of the game stayed the same. After this point though, things started to change. The Fortnite storyline would be introduced, and I don't know if y'all remember, but back in like season 3, there was this conspiracy thing of a rift opening up in the sky, which turned out to be an actual thing, and it started out as speculation, but it turned out to be part of the first big event, which would become a big thing throughout the rest of Fortnite. Now whenever the next season dropped, one of the OG Fortnite spots that was one of my favorites by the way got fucking blasted by a meteor, and that was low-key some bullshit, but for the most part the season was still pretty fire. Fortnite also got introduced to mobile around this time, which opened up a whole new player base of people, and I don't know if anyone has the same experiences, but bro, just the feeling of being in class and having the whole class around you when you're about to get a win, and then you win, like bro, that's gotta be one of the best feelings in the world. From this point on though, things started to take a turn for the worst in my opinion. Every single update that came out, it would start to get wilder and wilder until the point where it didn't even seem like Fortnite anymore. And on top of that, the simplicity of the game that made it so popular was starting to dwindle down. At the same time, people were getting cracked at the game, and for casuals, you could even play a game without a dude building a castle every time you shoot a single shot at them, which is what I think turned a lot of people off, and even me for a long time, because it just feels like you can't compete with it. After some crazy events and stuff, new chapters would come out, and it would be a nice breath of fresh air because it would bring back the simplicity, but it never lasted long because it would just get littered with some bullshit. Like bro, what the f was this? And these events were just getting wild. But yeah, as constant updates came out, it low-key was just getting overwhelming with all the random stuff they would just throw in the map. Nothing was coherent or made any type of sense in any way, because you would just have the volcano Spider-Man city next to the Seaman Sanctuary. And like as far as the storyline goes, like what was even happening? We had the Jizz Queen for a while, I guess, and then every single time a chapter would end, we'd have some epic galaxy island flip explosion, and then boom, Mr. Beast. I guess the best way I can describe it is it felt like they were adding a lot, but nothing with actual real substance. Like back whenever they had the first major update where it added shifty shafts and tilted towers and all the other stuff in the OG map, it genuinely felt like it changed a lot without ruining the core gameplay or feeling that Fortnite had. If you take a look at Google Trends, you can clearly see the slow decline of the game's interest, and overall I think that was simply just a result of poor updates. At some points when new chapters would come out, the game would be kind of fun for a little bit, and after that it just started to get boring again. When chapter 4 released, I think that's where everything began to take a turn. The beginning of the chapter started out basically like how every other one does. I think the first major thing that stands out about this chapter was the special items. Like at first you had the My Hero Academia thing, and then also the hammer, which is still to this day one of my favorite items that has ever been added to Fortnite. It was actually goated. But anyways, they just made the game more interesting, not necessarily because you had all these super OP things, but mainly because they can completely change the way you play the game. Pretty much every single single season, you would get some sort of new mobility item that all acted different, but they were super fun to use, and also it just speeds up the tedious process of getting around the map. It just makes what you do 90% of the game anyways actually kind of fun. I hardly use most of these items for combat in the first place. Most of the time it was just a travel to get out of sticky situations. Like at one point there was a season where we had both the ODM gear from Attack on Titan and actual lightsabers, and like at the time I for real can't describe how cool that was.
Coolest shit I ever seen in my life. 2 clone troopers going at it. One of them is using ODM gear. Dodges the bullets. Attaches to my structure. Swings around like Levi Ackerman. He lands in my build like he's Batman. Right? He dodges the lightsaber. Somehow. Pulls his out. Like, I don't know what happened there. He uses the force to throw me off the fucking map. This is the sweetest shit I've ever seen in my life.
Whenever the seasons progress is when things really started to go left from the other chapters. Instead of taking a random hot shit on top of the map every season, they actually made changes that sort of halfway made sense and that weren't completely incoherent. Every update added something in a way that made it feel like the map was evolving and not just like they threw shit onto it. In the second season, they replaced the bottom right with a whole new portion of the map, added tons of new locations, including the beautiful mega city, and they did all that while still making it feel like it fit into the map seamlessly. And the next season, they replaced the middle part of the map with a jungle that had abandoned temples and dinosaurs. Now, to be completely honest, it's not their best work, and it was kind of ass, but I mean, it was still cool, let's be real, and it still kind of fit in with the theme of the rest of the map. And then finally, the last season added these like luxury heist type of locations, which I thought were lame at first, but after I played with them, they actually ended up being pretty cool. And not to mention the rocket ram and the witch broom, which were just a couple of the main special items that season, were actual flames, bruh. Now, the most important and the greatest thing that has ever been added to the game, in my opinion, was rank play. Now, I'm not saying it was perfect, because it was definitely scuffed, but like, this is what should have been in the game at the very beginning. This pretty much solved the main issue I had with the game at the time, which is that there's not really a point of playing much, because you just get put inside of a match with a whole bunch of bots for 90% of the game until you end up getting killed by someone who's actually cracked in the final circle. And it just felt like there was no real progression other than the battle pass and your account level, which weren't actually based on your skill. And that's where I think rank play comes in. In case you aren't aware with how it works, basically your first match in ranked mode determines what rank it puts you in. Depending on how you perform in matches from that point on, you'll either move up if you go crazy, or you'll move down if you're ass. Even as a casual player, it's one of the main reasons I played so much since it came out. The last thing I noticed during the season was that it felt like they were focusing less on the storyline and more on the gameplay itself, specifically just the fun of it. Over time, there's been less story stuff going on. There was even an ending event for the chapter 4 leading into the OG season, which just got obliterated into the Shadow Realm and nowhere to be seen. Now, I guess a lack of focus on the storyline can be seen as a bad thing for people who really care about that, but I feel like if it means that they can focus on the rest of the game more, then that's all that most people will care about. While Fortnite popularity was still actually surprisingly at its lowest point in history, I believe that they were just setting themselves up for a crazy comeback while also cooking up some crazy stuff for creative mode, but I'll get back to that in a bit. Also, I'm hella sick right now and I'm adding this after editing, but I also forgot to mention how important collabs were. I think they were a huge part of what kept people coming back to the game and also probably introduced a lot of new people to the game. But yeah, let's get back into it. Now, finally, the moment y'all have all been probably waiting for. We got the OG Fortnite season. Now, this one skyrocketed the popularity of Fortnite higher than it's ever been. I honestly don't know if they even planned this season for long or not, because it seems like they just kind of put it out there. But I mean, whatever the case is, it worked. This season brought back the beloved map from the first chapter of Fortnite. Throughout the next month, it cycled between some major map changes that happened in the original. But what I find interesting is that they didn't follow through with everything exactly like how it was originally. So for example, instead of adding all the map changes in each update, they just took some of the best and most like parts of the seasons and then added them in. They also even kept some of the features from the newer chapters like super sprinting and sliding. Now, some people were crying about it because it wasn't the exact same as the original, but like, bro, who honestly cares? They literally took the best of all worlds and combined it into one, and overall the players definitely enjoyed it because the game hit their concurrent player count peak of 44.7 million players at the same time over 5.5 years after the game had already launched. Now, if this doesn't show that doing what your fan base wants sometimes is a good idea, then I don't know what is. It's also great because it seems like they've been a lot more involved with their community, which I would only imagine means better things for the game in the future. Now, one thing I haven't mentioned yet is how crazy the creative mode is. It started as just a little fun side mode that was very limited for several years, but now within the past year or so, it seems like they've been working a lot and investing a whole lot of money into it to try to get it super huge. And I'm pretty sure sure Fortnite's goal is to steer itself away from just being a battle royale game, I think they want to expand into other territory, kind of similar to how Roblox is, where you can basically play whatever game you want. Now, I'd imagine this is good for them because it allows them to have more versatility and a lack of reliance on one mode. I think it's pretty clear that this is where the future of Fortnite is heading, because at first they created the Unreal Engine for Fortnite, which basically allowed creators to be able to make nearly any type of game that they want, kind of like how Roblox is again. And also because they've been adding their own hugely successful modes like Lego Fortnite, Rocket Racing, and even the Guitar Hero mode. Even simple maps like the Only Up one that came out were competing with the player count. Some of the legit battle royale modes having over 100,000 players at the same time in just a creative map, which is actually wild. After the OG season ended, the popularity obviously fell a bit, but even almost 2 months after that happened, the average player count is still about double what it was back in October. I've seen a lot of mixed opinions on the new chapter, mainly due to its lack of simplicity, but even then, just them focusing on making the gameplay more enjoyable and making updates that are actually important is clearly helping a lot to maintain this new player count. And I think it's really smart that they've spent this past year just improving the game, then dropping the OG Fortnite season, which brought a whole new popularity to Fortnite from here on out, with not just the battle royale mode but also the creative mode. They've already announced that they're going to be bringing back the OG map at some point this year, so even if the game ever starts declining again, they basically have a cheat code to keep saving the game if they really needed to. Really though, I don't even think it'll come down to that. All they have to do is just keep doing what they're doing and keep making the game fun and fresh, and I don't think it'll truly die anytime soon. But yeah, y'all, this is my new channel and I appreciate the love and support on my first 2 videos. If y'all want to see some more chill content about whatever I'm rocking with, then feel free to drop a like and sub, and yeah, peace.